Hi, I'm Bob Newchild, author of this children's book called Sandia Sisterhood, Trail Enchantment. This is the cover. It's book number 4 of a 4-book series called Three Sisters. This is a prequel. The series is a prequel to my first young adult novel called CALINE. That's CALINE over there with her adopted sisters Ginger and Gray, and they're standing by their solar power SUV, the Aptura, with the Sandia Mountains in the background. And let me go and read this. This is a picture of me with readers at with my first book, Drive the Sun, just on Earth Day a couple years ago. Here is the cover of CALINE. These are the 4 books of the children's book series, the prequel to CALINE. And let's go ahead and read this. Alright. A father shared, passed on his love of nature's landscape and wildlife with his daughter. Brandon never thought his job keeping people and animals safe as a U.S. Forest Ranger was work. He, his little girl Caroline, and wife Rebecca lived where Placitas met the Sandia Mountains. Their house was in the hills on the edge of town, next to the clinic where Caroline's mom worked. Brandon fell in love with Rebecca watching her play soccer where they both went to school. Rebecca always loved playing soccer as a little girl in high school and on UNM's Lobos women's team. Dad was getting EMT certification at UNM's Medical Services Academy School of Medicine. Mom was taking classes managing a clinic at UNM's Master of Health Administration. Both Caroline's dad and mom loved animals. Brandon wanted to work in the Sandia Mountains. Caroline's mom studied to become a veterinarian and opened a clinic where she grew up in Placitas. Brandon saw little girls lining up excited after a Lobo win asking for players' autographs. Brandon squeezed in between 2 girls, waited to ask Rebecca for an autograph and a date. It worked. Brandon and Rebecca began dating more and more between soccer and studying. Rebecca invited Brandon to visit her folks' place in Placitas next to the Sandia Mountains he loved. Sadly, Rebecca became seriously injured during a practice, stopping her from playing soccer again. Rebecca worked hard and long to recover from surgery. Brandon took her to his favorite place. Rebecca handed Brandon her crutches, leaning against his old SUV. He helped her get up and in. Brandon tossed the crutches in the back seat, then drove to a Sandia Mountain easy trail. They stopped to visit Rebecca's parents on the edge of Placitas just before the Sandia Mountains. Brandon knew an easy trail he found years ago, only a short drive from Rebecca's parents. This would be the same trail CALINE would take her adopted sisters Ginger and Gray 2 years later. Rebecca named Caroline CALINE after bringing home and seeing Caroline with her new sisters. Rebecca and Brandon both moved to Placitas after finishing their studies at UNM. Rebecca moved in with taking care of her aging, frail parents next to the clinic she got a job at. Brandon got a dream job working in the Sandia Mountains as a ranger for the U.S. Forest Service. Brandon and Rebecca were dating regularly. Brandon rented a room in her parents' house. Months went quickly by as Rebecca and Brandon got to know and love their work. Rebecca took over running the clinic where she worked hard as a lead veterinarian. Brandon was in heaven, patrolling different trails daily, witnessing comings and goings of wildlife. He shared highlights with Rebecca, rescuing injured hikers going off the trails from time to time. Rebecca's parents became very sick and died during the flu epidemic, leaving the house to her. Brandon had asked for permission to propose and marry Rebecca before they passed. They buried Rebecca's parents and got married shortly thereafter by the long-time family priest. Rebecca and Brandon made the house their own, installing solar panels to install on electric bills. CALINE was born with her given name Caroline. Rebecca took only a month off from the clinic. The clinic was close enough for Rebecca to walk and take Caroline with her every day to work. Rebecca set up a room in the clinic just for Caroline to sleep, be breastfed, and change. Caroline grew fast, crawling wherever she could to see what was barking and meowing. Caroline's mom needed someone to look after her daughter when she had to do emergency surgery. She was grateful for nearby neighbors who helped with babysitting Caroline for the first couple of years. Rebecca and Brandon loved and clapped when Caroline started taking her first steps as a toddler. Brandon took Caroline as soon as she could walk to the same trail he took her mom with crutches. Caroline's dad pointed out and named plants, trees, holding her hand, walking on the trail. Caroline's eyes went wide when he had her turning to look at little animals scurrying about. Lights stayed on at Caroline's house during power outages as days were getting hotter and hotter. Solar panels on the house roof supplied enough electricity to keep inside nice and cool. Caroline's father came home one day with a baby cougar cub he found crying all alone on the trail. Caroline's dad walked the cub to Caroline's mom at the clinic, even though she wanted to keep it. Caroline's wish to keep the cougar cub was granted, along with an adorable coyote pup. Caroline brought her soccer friends home during blackouts to enjoy having cool air conditioning. On the page before, someone had brought an abandoned coyote pup to Caroline's mom at the clinic the day before. The power outage cut off the clinic's electricity. Caroline's mom brought home both the cub and the pup. Caroline's mom had her playing soccer with her friends before she was old enough to start school. Caroline's friends called her Caline after she got sisters Ginger and Gray and falling in love with them. Caline's friends, Pauline, Christine, Jessica, and Sally, fell in love with Ginger and Gray too. They got Caline's mom to drive and bring them to soccer in an old SUV, then in the new Aptera. Increasing hot days crashed the power grid again, closing school for Caline and her friends. They decided to walk to Caline's house with solar panels for power electricity to keep it cool. Caline's house was quiet. Caline found her mom and dad laying in the bedroom, both very sick. Her dad was asleep, her mom was awake, saw and weakly warned Caline to stay away. Something that made Caline's parents sick did the same to all the parents of her friends calling home. Most of the parents had died quickly and were now gone. A new big sickness took all the men. There was no one left to fix the power grid to bring the electricity back on for people without solar. Everything stopped with most grown-ups gone. Caline and her friends became closer, surviving. Ginger and Gray helped to keep them, CALINE and her friends, happy and safe in those dark days. Some older boys in the neighborhood that survived the big sickness were mean and selfish bullies. Life was difficult. The small group of boys made it horrible for CALINE and her friends in Placitas. CALINE, her adopted sisters, Ginger and Gray, took enough terror seeking refuge and comfort on the trail. They found both in a trail enchantment, bonding and strengthening three into a Sandia sisterhood. 3 sisters, 2 feet, 8 paws, have begun their journey of survival, sisterhood, and hope. And that's the end of this book here. It continues in CALINE, the young adult novel. This is the cover of the second book, the book I'm currently working on now, called CALINE's Courage. And hopefully this will be done by the end of this year or early next year. You can get all these books on Amazon. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening.